Thank you all for being here. Bryn Hall of the Sorrento team,
Hi.
Kelly Zwilling of the Exceptional Home Team, Katie V of the Brahma Real Estate Group. Thank you guys for sharing your expertise and what's worked over the years and how you do it. And then you guys feel free to ask them whatever questions you have that you want to know from them about doing it in your business. And it can be, what are first steps? What would you recommend is the first thing that new agents start with? And how can they do that simply? Okay, thank you guys.
I'm pulling a board up. Do you want to go first, Kelly, or Katie, or one of you guys?
You
I'm
guys
pulling
start.
something up, so one of you guys starts.
Okay. What was our first question? What do we do?
Well, she's kind of saying that there's
Oh,
obviously
what
there's a
events do you do,
range
right?
of ages of the people that have been in the business, you know, so there's a difference between what a team would do and what an individual agent would do. So maybe you can address some of those things.
Okay. So events that we do plan it in October for the following year, and we change them up a little bit. This past year, we did a pie event in July. We did a,
Wait, what was the reasoning behind the pie event again?
it was apple and cherry pie for the 4th of July.
That's super cute.
Yes.
And tell us about that. How did you do that?
So, and we do this with expansion as well. So all of our events that we do here, we also do with all of our expansion agents. So in that case, it would be very similar to what an individual agent would do, meaning that we set it up in a way that the agent can show up and be able to put on the event. So with the pie event is a good one to show that example. So we create an email. We can create with an RSVP link that goes back to, we use Smartsheet, but you could use a Google form, would be the same thing, where we track the client's name, phone number, email address, and what kind of pie they want, and then what agent. So that's the only other pieces, they pick who their agent is. Then we create our Facebook event, we put it on our Google page, we put it on our website. I'm trying to
Just
think
Kelly,
where else.
just so you can explain that to them.
Yeah.
Do you do this to just your current clients or all of your past clients?
So we use it even to generate new leads. So we'll do a Facebook ad and put it out there where people can click on it in RSVP and come and pick up a pie. So that's why we put it on that, basically why we're putting it out there on the internet, is so we can generate new people, and then the email and text messages all go, and slide dials all go out to our current clients, so our current database. And we send it to everyone we have phone number and email address to. So it's not just current or past, or it's whoever, leads that are in our Infusionsoft or our sync system. We send it to every single person we know.
When you did this last time, how many haven't-mets did you get? Like when you did the boosting.
Sure, so I think we had, I want to say we had around 125 people that picked up pies, and that was through all of our locations. And we did, I think there was 8 people we got from Facebook.
That's awesome. That's 8 people you engaged with. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How many people RSVP'd they wanted a pie and didn't come?
Not very many, only a handful.
Okay.
So did you have that amount of pies on the end that the RSVP, or did you have?
Yep, so we have our RSVPs end a few days before the event, and then Callie and I drove and picked them up. And then for our expansion locations, we just called the local grocery store. We did have to do that ahead of time, and we negotiated a price, and then we just pre-ordered them, and then my agent just went and picked them up.
And then the people came to the office to pick them up?
Yep, so
Okay.
like an individual agent, they just reserved a conference room at their market center, and they had a table of pies, and then they would come in and meet and talk or whatever. And like Savannah in Florida, she usually does, like she'll have apple cider, soda, or water. Like she usually picks up something extra to have there.
And what else do you include with the pie? Like, do you put, I don't know, some kind of a card or anything else with it?
So we did have a sticker that went on the pie that just said thank you from the Exceptional Home Team.
Okay,
But that was it. It's mainly about the actual conversation
okay.
of them coming and picking up the pie. pie. And I think they got maybe, here at the hub, trying to think, maybe 2 referrals.
Okay, okay. So how
I
many
would
total-
say it's not a high yield of how many referrals that you're gonna get right there at the event. It's just about the whole communication throughout the entire year.
Mhm.
It's just another way to have a conversation that's not just over the phone.
Okay,
It's a piece of the 33 touch, or 30, whatever.
Yeah,
Seems
exactly.
more about cultivating relationships than necessarily pie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
What about the people who did come and participate? Were they people that were actively engaged in your business anyway, or did you have some people that you really didn't have an established relationship with that maybe were from your database?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. For sure, we have the close, tight-knit people
Yeah.
that come. I'm not sure if we have.
Do you
lot
have a
of-
bunch of regulars who tend to come to all of your
Yes.
events? They're like, they always turn up and they're, okay.
Yeah, and I would say even with our database, that's, we only have a handful. Like, we are definitely not the experts at that. I would say when I was on Dana's team, she had a larger like VIP group. And I would attest that too. She was really engaged with her people all the time. And I would say we've had unsuccessful events as well. And usually an unsuccessful event is when the agent isn't calling the clients and inviting them to it. Like we do all of these other pieces, the Facebook posts, the emails, the slide aisles, the text messages. But if the agent doesn't call, the people don't show up.
okay.
Yeah.
It's all about that phone call. You could probably, if you were gonna just put on an event and you had no marketing experience, you didn't even know how to turn on your computer, if you just called them, you would probably you would have better results than someone who just did digital, for sure.
Okay.
And then do you do anything for follow-up afterwards, or?
Yep, so the agents follow up then with whoever picked up the pies to ask them how it went and those pieces. So, yeah, how did your pie go? Because most of them told stories about what they were gonna do with the pie, because it was over the 4th of July, so how was your 4th?
Yeah, right, so the agent can remember what was talked about and then.
Yeah, did you take it to the cabin, or we did it a few days before so that people that were going to the cabin for the weekend, they could take it with them and share it with their family.
I really like the 4th of July idea because everybody gets pies for Thanksgiving and sometimes you need more than one, so are you gonna really go here and get one if you need to buy more? I like that 4th of July idea.
Yeah.
Have you done the same thing at Thanksgiving before, or have you only ever done 4th of July?
We actually don't do anything at Thanksgiving because we do the holiday party, which is December 1st, and so it's a week apart from Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
and so it's too hard to do back to back. Yeah,
So how many events would you say you do in a calendar year?
4.
4, so one a quarter.
Yeah, the first one of the year is the dumpster event. That's a pretty easy event to put on. You order a dumpster.
Yeah.
What kind of, what kind of costs you put in to each event? Like, what do you think that the pie event?
Yeah, so we spend less than $1,000 even with our expansion. We do ask our vendors to help. So like our title company or inspector or mortgage company.
On each event?
Yep, we kind of pick and choose. They usually don't do all of them.
And how do you track your return on investment on something like that?
So you have to look at it as a whole for the entire year, and that's what I was saying. It's not just like you're not going to yield those results like immediately from the event. So at the end of the year, when you're doing your business planning, you look at the effort and the money that you put into your 33 touch, and then you see how many sales that you got from your sphere or sphere referrals, and who you're marketing to for
I
those
think
events.
it's like so important to do the same events like year after year for at least a couple of years to really know the results, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so like the holiday party that we have, they've been doing, like Christy has been doing that for like 15 years. We have 400 people show up for that just here at the hub.
Oh, wow.
It's a huge event.
Where do you usually host that?
It used to be here at the Market Center, but we outgrew it, so now it's at Wyzetta Free in just right over the bridge. I don't know what we're gonna do this
The
year
new
with the
space?
bridge, yeah.
Or maybe you'll bring it to the new space. Oh, no, not this. not
Yeah,
this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah, so, and matter of fact, we've just started, like, we're sending, save the dates out now for that and get that, but like, we book Santa Claus, like, the same day for the next year.
Nice.
We also put a policy in place that we don't do any events without 60-day notice. Sometimes we have expansion agents or they have a partner or something and they wanna put on an event fast. And so we don't do any events without 60-day notice because you can't properly get everything out to be successful. It's usually a waste of money.
So when you're working on a team like that, so if the costs, are they're covered by the team? If the agent comes up with an idea of an event that they want to put on, does your agent pay for that, or does the team end up paying for that and then it goes out to everybody, or how does that work? Or do you do it always as a team, every agent's doing the same,
So
doing the same thing?
Yeah, so we plan all of those in like a year in advance. And so the only way we would do that is if we had an existing agent coming, like an agent that had a business plan coming in, and then we would be adjusting that. But we work off of our GPSs, so whatever that agent's GPS is for the year. If they wanted to do that, like a one-off event, it would have to make sense with the 60-day notice. It would have to be in line with their GPS. I would say in most cases it would be a cost to the team, but it kind of all depends. Sometimes we do say, well, we'll split it with you, or it really just kind of depends on what their business plan
Yeah,
is.
and what we're doing, okay.
Yeah.
So are you guys doing the pumpkin event?
Yes. So
Is
we're
that-
not
is that
actually
the-
doing the pumpkin event. It's our lender that's doing the pumpkin
Oh.
event, and we're just we're tagging along. So
Sponsoring.
we're doing it backwards. Well, because we had this, I'm like, no, I don't do events without 60-day notice. And I said, well, it was Kent's idea. So I said, Kent, if you can get somebody to do all the work and we show up, then that's what we'll do. So that's
Back it off.
and so that's what he's doing. They're planning the entire event, and we're just gonna show up like the opposite role of how it usually goes.
I think after we
Wouldn't that be nice if they did that all of the events? You guys could show up.
I think after we all like talk a little bit, I think at the end we should do a brainstorm about all the different types of events that there are, and then all the different kinds of ideas, because there's things like this that there might be even community events that you can tag onto and do something within a community event that you're not hosting.
Sure.
So,
I was gonna ask about that. Obviously for teams and people who are well established, they have a clientele, it's a little bit different, but for newer agents who don't necessarily have, that many people to invite, or I mean, what do you guys have any suggestions for how to start these, or don't start them until you have that clientele base, or what?
and I think once we go through, like, I have some stuff that I can talk about like our event system and stuff, but I put a lot of thought into like what this would look like for individual agents, and I think that there are so many different types of events.
Okay.
You can do a digital event, you can do events that are targeted towards haven't met. So if you don't have a database, you can do an event that's all around people you haven't met. I mean, there's so many different ways to do this, and so I think once we get talking about it, I think the juices will get flowing and you'll be able to see all of that.
I think that I could piggyback on that right now, because we are a team, but we operate a lot differently than the Exceptional Home Team or the Soaringba team. There's just me. I have virtual assistants at events, so planning events is not my cup of tea, and I don't have time for it, and we have used other ways to do events that are already planned, per se. So we do the JJ Hills Day, we do the Christmas party. Sherry, she's very involved in her community, and so they have the New Hope Christmas train lighting thing, and so she's a sponsor for that. She's done that multiple years, and so that's a way for her to invite her sphere or put it on social media for an event that's already created, where you may not have a big turnout, but it's not a big planning event where you're financially putting money into something that you don't have the people to invite or do. Rick is very involved with his church, so they've got a gala there every year that he sponsors, and he's there, and he would invite some of his certain selected sphere to something like that. The wine and cheese events that he has, he also, you know, if it's somebody that he knows that would like or appreciate that house, he would invite certain people in his sphere to go to that wine and cheese event.
The rich people is what she's trying to
Well, I mean, there's, I'm not gonna answer that. The Red Day, we participate in and we blast that on social media, even if it's just to be like, look, we're participating in this. It's a way to touch, to have people remember what you're doing. And
We
So-
invite people, like the barbecues outside.
yep, we've done that. We've invited some people to that as well. And for the most part, not many of them show up to when you invite some, but it's still, even an invite is something that they're getting.
Yep.
So we don't spend a lot of money, our team doesn't, on events. Should we? Probably should be doing more than we're doing, but this is just a way for newer agents or people that don't want to spend the money, is to just utilize what's already around your community and with Keller Williams that the office puts on, and it's a start.
We did one last year with Feed My Starving Children, and we just invited, I hit send and invited everybody in Rick's sphere, and he just about went mental with it, because I'd sent out to that many people, but we get so many responses back in, people saying, so sorry, can't help you out this time, but let us know when you're doing this again and we'll help you next time. So it's a nice way to go out, I think, into community and do something to help out, and almost kind of just being the middleman, rallying the people to be able to do some good, but it does give you credibility at the same time as
Yeah.
involved in the
And
community.
like you said, you have to sometimes do these events multiple times before you even see a result. So to give up on the first time you do something is not worth even attempting to do it then.
At least for us, like our goal is always 10% RSVPs, and then then you still have 10% that doesn't show. So, like if you have
It's a lot.
and so that's our goal. We don't hit our goal. Like we hit our goal
How
for
many people do you invite?
well, like our holiday party, we usually hit our 10% goal of our database. It depends on how engaged you are throughout the year. Like so Savannah in Florida, she definitely hits 10% every time out of her database, but she calls them all the time. She's knocking on their doors. She's talking to them all the time, and so they want to be around her because they know her. That's where I think that's the only secret sauce, is the consistent communication.
We decided this past year that almost all of our client touches were going to be around events. So the agents are not necessarily just doing the quarterly calls just to check in. It's usually around an event. So we have the events throughout the year, and we make sure that we're getting all of our touches. Like if you think about it, they're getting a personal phone call before. They get a text message. They may get a postcard depending on what the event is. They're going to get an e-newsletter with it in. They're going to get an invitation sent to them. Hopefully we see them at the event. We call the people afterwards, thank them for coming, say something touching about it. We might send an email with like some photos about it, and then we reach out to the people who RSVP'd that they were going to come but didn't come, and just say, so sorry we missed you. And we might even send an email that says, sorry we missed you, to the people who didn't come.
That's your 2 hours of calling every day. Probably like right there.
I mean,
to sit down and rather than sitting
How
and
do
do
you have
cold
time
calls.
to do
We are not
all
called,
of
to be
that?
clear, the agents are doing the
But
direct
how do you have
phone
time
calls.
to like track all of that? And,
That's
like,
huge.
We don't necessarily, we have a system. So like we started documenting everything, and we have a system so we know how to do it, but it's really fairly automated. Like once you have the artwork to send out, like you create it in Canva or whatever, you have it, you just reuse it over and over again. You use that on social media, you send it out in a blast, you have your list in there, so it's easy to send out.
you send it out via your,
We do MailChimp right now.
MailChimp.
Guess
What about the rest of you guys?
We use BombBomb for video, for invites.
We've done MailChimp before, and we've also done, if it's some type of a flyer or something on Canva, I just go into eHedge and I have his sphere of influence as a group in there and just blast out the flyer that way.
And, you know, and we did not do 4 events last year, we did 3. So, I mean, it depends what counts as events, but, you know, and then there's some that not all the calls get made. Obviously, that's not ideal. You'd like to set the goal that all calls get made, but that's, let's be real, that doesn't always happen. But the intention is there, and you always are still doing the activities, and I don't ever let not being able to do it all keep you from doing what you can do. And so that's been the big thing for us. This last year, that when we made that shift, that has been awesome, because you're not calling with their clients to have like nothing to talk about, oh, just checking in with
I
you.
like that.
You're
Yeah.
adding value. We're calling, offering something to them each time we call, and so
And
that
you're not-
has been great.
And you're not you don't sound as much like you're bothering them then.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, we're still trying to get business, you know, like it's more like, hey, come to this,
Yeah.
it'll be fun.
And how many people, Molly, would write back and would come in and they'd say like, oh, so sorry we can't make it, and they'd send some like very nice email back. It's been helpful. So that was it. We do a variety of events too. I will say that we were talking events today, and still every time we start planning an event, Molly and I have the reaction. Events are hard, and so that doesn't mean they're not worth doing, but they're hard, and there's things that we can do to make them easier. So that's what we tried to do last year, was easier events, and we succeeded most of the time. We had one big one that was very time consuming, but we got a lot out of.
What was that?
We had a BCE event, which is sort of what you were talking about. It's Best Christmas Ever, and it was a community contribution event. So our purpose, which I'll talk about sort of like our system and plan, but our purpose for that one was connect with our sphere to create a life-changing experience for a local family in need. Together we can make a difference. Something kind of along those lines, where we're gonna pull together with our sphere and make this life-changing experience. And so we partnered with BCE charity, and we selected a family that it was secret, but we raised money for them. It was a family in need. And we had there was probably 3 events throughout the whole thing, and multiple phone calls and different. The first thing we did is agents called their sphere and told them about what we were doing, and said nominations are opening up. If you know a family in need, we would love to help them. Here's where you can go to nominate. And then after we selected our family, agents called through and said, we've selected our family, would you like to donate? Here's where you can donate money. Or we have trees at these locations, you could go and pick up a tag and donate gifts. And we're also having a soup party to celebrate the holiday season, and we had a soup party at Tony and Nicole's house. So this event got complicated because there was the community piece, there was the fundraising piece, there was the one-on-one connection with our sphere, there was a whole bunch of parts here to it. But in the end, we raised $30,000, over $30,000, plus gifts for our family. And we did it through the engagement of people we knew in our sphere, and we added to our database as well. And there was sort of the brand awareness with our trees being in 3 public places in the community. And so it was a pretty great experience that also was really hard. And so
do it again.
we are doing it again. We're doing it a little different this year on a smaller scale. Nicole is being a captain of captains. So this year our goal was to get other people to captain families, so we had more impact through leverage. Your team is doing one, so it's been a really great experience, and we are going to do it again. I think it'll be on a smaller scale of what we raised for a specific family.
Can you tell us a few things? Did the time that you guys put into that, I mean, I'm right by your guys' office, I can hear you guys, and you guys spent a lot of time on that and a lot of energy. Did you have good results other than, I mean, no matter what, that was a great thing and something to feel good about, and just be like.
I do think so if you look at it at the big overall piece. I think it's the how much connection did you get with your sphere? What did you do in the community? Is it in alignment with your team goals? And last year, our focus was really on community involvement, and so it was really in alignment with what we were setting for ourselves last year. And we learned what worked and what didn't, and we're making changes to how we're approaching it this year. So if you asked Molly and I, would we do it again exactly the way we did it last year? No. But we learned, and we're doing it again in a different way. And so I think that was a cool piece. We also do smaller things, like we do sponsorships at CrossFit. Tony's very involved in CrossFit, so we'll do something where we'll sponsor an event there, we'll hang our banner for a year, we will create like these Yeti trophies for the top winners, so we get to get on the microphone and do an announcement. So there's small things that you can do that you know, you just keep in front of a farm type of situation, pick your people and stay in front of it. But then, and we're gonna do a fall event this year, and we did the dumpster event too, which was fantastic for us, and we got a ton of have-mats from the community for that one. That was one where we got a lot of bang for our buck with both our database and have-mats.
So do you have people RSVP for that? So you have the dumpster and they've got to RSVP before they go dump their stuff in?
Yeah, I mean,
So
we
nobody's driving by in the middle of the night emptying their...
Well,
It does happen.
It happens.
But we put a lot of signs, like we put big signs that were like, we cannot accept, and we listed all the things out.
Okay.
But we got huge dumpsters, we got 2 huge ones, and so it all worked out fine. We had no issues. Yeah, so that was pretty good. That's a good
Was
event.
that here at the office or?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And what are your other events?
So we're doing a fall event this year. We're still gonna do a BCE event. We are nailing down what that, we're not gonna do a soup party this year. We're gonna have something in place of it. But dumpster, we did 2 CrossFit events. We did, BCE, I can't remember what the other one was.
What is the fall event?
We are gonna do a pumpkin patch.
You are?
Yes.
Where are you doing it? You don't mind me.
Yeah, we're nailing down the details right now.
So we tried to do that.
Yeah.
And so we did it last year at this Watertown Apple Orchard, and people just didn't come because it was too far out. So then we got in touch with Minnetonka Apple Orchard, and then they all of a sudden decided last minute that they're not doing corporate events this
Yeah.
year. And they told us no.
I will say that I've called around a lot, and there were some places it was clear would have worked out better than others.
Yeah.
So,
And we were gonna do it here,
yeah,
but we couldn't get the pumpkins delivered in time.
let's talk offline. I have info. And we can,
Okay.
but there's lots of things. Like we looked at Parlay Winery is out by where Molly and I live, and that would have been a very different event than if you pick like one of the more kid-focused ones. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can do it, and you know, there's things like if you go to a pumpkin patch and what you do is you hire a photographer for $500 who's going to take do a mini photo session of families that come. Maybe you don't pay for anything at the pumpkin patch. You just have a photographer there, and you have clients that come and you get photos taken, and then that brings people there. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that you can reduce your cost of what you're doing for events.
We have one that's willing to do it.
Do I have what?
We have one that's willing to do it.
Yes. Well, then just find a place. There's places.
And the solo agents could all, I mean, some of these ideas are things that you guys could collaborate and do one together,
Well, that's what, yeah.
you
I
know?
think is when you're starting off, like I know at our old office at Edina Realty, they did a pumpkin event every year, and it was just every agent paid like, I don't know, it was $40 or $50, and you could have an unlimited amount of clients, and they had all the pumpkins delivered, hot coffee, donuts, and then like face painting and stuff, and like a bouncy thing. And if you participated, you paid. If you didn't, you didn't, and it was just so much easier that way. Which I think would be something cool to like maybe do here next year, because
Yeah.
it's scary. Like for us too, we were gonna do it and have pumpkins delivered here. And we're like, we don't know how many. Like if we order 100 pumpkins and we have 5 people show up and we have a parking lot full of pumpkins, so that's
So door
Then
knocking.
you have to
knocking.
yeah. No, thank you. With pumpkins, take a year.
Come pick them up.
We need to do little pumpkins, reverse trick or treating with your way.
Yeah, by the way, Christina, I nominate you for the ALC Culture Committee.
No, I already did that.
So that is how the holiday party started here. And we used to have lots of participation with other agents, and now we don't.
But is it still there for?
I don't know that we have any of the agents that are going to participate. Last year was just Rick's.
And we, to be honest, we don't have we have 15 people maybe come, so
It almost became too complicated because we didn't have the participation, and so we're actually trying to decide right now how we're gonna handle it.
Makes sense.
Because we incur all the costs.
Yeah.
Well, I
Because
think
it's
that's
not the
tough
office that's
part,
doing it.
Right, that's the tough part.
But maybe if we all collaborated as, like you're saying, Edina Realty as a whole market center and did something,
That would be
that'd
cool.
be less risky.
I think that that's what they attempt to do, but we
Yeah.
don't, you know, it's like,
Just didn't have the participation from the other agents.
Or if we get that up front instead of.
And maybe what we need is just more conversations about this.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
If it's a
Yeah.
bunch of people in a room who sees the value of events, then you can all make sure that
Right.
you're committed together to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
With Heather said we can use the parking lot, so it's not like there's a place to do it. I
Sure.
think it's just putting minds together and willing to contribute.
Yep, and I think you also could reach out, I know that Eden Prairie Market Center, they do a dumpster event together, and when we were doing our dumpster event, I called them, and they had some really great ideas, and it was unique in how they collaborated. So I think if you ever wanted to talk to any of the admin there, they would be totally willing to help you guys figure out how to do it. I think the thing that has made a change for me this year has been just more the systematic thinking about it, like making sure that it's the commitment ahead of time on what you're doing. And then my coach, who's really fantastic and she's very structured, she's part of who helped me create the system, but she has really told me that it's important that almost any system or event that you do has a purpose. You have to make sure that your first conversation before you do anything is what is the purpose of this event. And she told me a story on the first event, or one event that they did. They were planning a 5K, and they got like a month or two into the planning, and they could not figure out why it wasn't working. And it was because their purpose for the event was to connect with their sphere. And if you think about a 5K, you're not connecting with your sphere. So they were planning an event that just did not align with what their goal was. And so if you start everything with what the purpose is, that's gonna help you get into like the types of events. Because I was brainstorming just ideas for what purpose can be. It can be show appreciation for past clients, connect one-on-one with your sphere, expand your engaged sphere, community contribution, add haven't mets to our database, increase brand awareness, generate referrals, generate online reviews, team camaraderie, develop or enhance like a really committed group of people who are your fans, be seen as the go-to real estate resource. There's all kinds of stuff, and how you structure your event will depend on what you want from this. If you want something like reviews, you're gonna make sure that you're adding that as part of your process here. So you have to know what you want from it, and that doesn't mean there can't be more than one. I've talked about doing team events where we're doing community contribution and connecting with our sphere, or adding haven't mets, but there's one purpose that drives it all, and then you have to just make sure that you're leading with that. So that's been pretty important for us. And then I think that, so ours is purpose, outcome, what does this look like when we're done? Brainstorm, organize, and action. And I think, you know, like, let's keep going and have questions, but I think we should get to the brainstorm parts. Like, let's just make giant lists of ideas of the types of events. And I think thinking of events in new ways and how to do cost savings is really helpful. So, do you guys have other questions before we get into that?
So I'm thinking of, like, you said you were not gonna do the soup event this
Mhm.
year. First of all, what was your goal
Yeah.
or your purpose? And did it fulfill that purpose?
So the soup event was unique in that we have been really trying to simplify our events, but that BCE event just got crazy because there were so many purposes in that. The purpose of the soup part was to really connect with our sphere and at the same time raise money. And so it was, there was 2 levels there. And yes, we absolutely had great turnout, we raised great money, all of it met what we needed. The reason we're not doing it again is it was a tradition that Tony and Nicole started when they first got in the business a long time ago, and during the holidays it's stressful to host that
Sure.
many people in your own house.
Yes.
So we're gonna do it somewhere else or do something different to just expand it to a less personal feel in
Yeah.
their own home and do it to something that appeals to more people.
But that's what they did when they started out.
Yeah.
Okay.
They made soup. At first she made them, then she started catering them, and it wasn't very expensive to cater it, and opened the doors to her own home and did an open house for the day. And you can do things like you could have Santa Claus come, you could have a photographer take pictures, you could, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, but if you have a house, invite your clients right there. That's how they did the event for years.
I know Bryn and I kind of talked a little bit about maybe just having a discussion of what happens when you don't have clients yet, or you don't have, you know, a sphere to invite yet, if you're new into the business, do you wanna share your ideas on that?
Well, you know, like, so I'm just gonna throw things out here and then I'd love to hear what you guys think too. Like different event types, there's like drop in at the office, like where your client comes here to the office, like the pie party. There's drop in at a venue, like you could go and sit at an ice cream shop and you buy a scoop to anyone who comes, you know, from your sphere over a 2-hour period of time. You could do pop buys. An example of that would be reverse trick or treating. Put on your Halloween costume and go and deliver little goodies to your sphere during the holidays, or during Halloween. Open house, which would be like the soup party. Education would be a first time home buying seminar, something like that. We have also done along those lines where you can open up like coffee dates, where you can do postcards, door knocking in the community. You can post it to social media, and people can book a 15 or 20 minute time of you to do coffee and ask any real estate related questions they wanted. Value add, an idea that I've had for a long time but haven't ever done, is I've seen it with other businesses, is called a wrappy party, where you just like get a table at a restaurant and people can bring their Christmas gifts to you and you will wrap their Christmas gifts for them. That's low cost to you, and they can come and sit with you, and you could have, you know, the supplies there, and you wrap their Christmas gifts for them. So that, I mean, if you think about it, there are a lot of ways that you could do pretty low cost events. And whether they actually come and use it, think about it, you still get to make the phone calls, you still get to do the event, you still get to send the emails. So it doesn't even matter how many people come.
I suppose you could supply the supplies there, because I'm thinking I'm
Yeah.
not pretty good at that, but you could have everything there for them with bows and ribbons
Yeah,
and dresses.
and have coffee and cider.
Yeah. that's
Have
a good
coffee
idea.
and cider and
Mhm.
cookies and all the supplies for them to come and wrap their gifts there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I remember my first year with Rick, he did a first time home buyers seminar, and I don't remember what kind of marketing I did for it. I mean, I think we were sending it to like certain apartment complexes, and he had one person show up, and that one person ended up being a deal. So
Mhm.
it's not always the number that responds, it's what you get out of it.
Isn't that true? Yep.
And he had spent money on advertising for that, and he had spent money on buying a bunch of, I mean, he had goodies to bring there, thinking that, you know, all these people are gonna show up, and here is just one person. And not only time on the PowerPoint and all that, but it only took one to get one deal,
And then if you do it, you're also getting the marketing and the exposure.
and then you have somebody to add to your sphere, and or possible referrals in the future, and
Well, then you've practiced it too, and then you can refine it for next time. Yeah, as well, I suppose.
Yep. And then we have like community contribution, event sponsorship, community events like out in the community, like a party at a park. You could, you know, do a cooler full of popsicles and, you know, some sort of a face paint and something like that at a park. VIP events where you really reduce your size of the people you're targeting and do something special. We've done a boat cruise with our VIP. Now obviously that's huge, but you can do something smaller. Digital events and things that I have, like that I'm thinking about that are, you can do, you know, like a digital event, like there's something called Love Your Pet Day. And have everybody post a picture of their pet on that day. They get entered in a drawing, and then they win, you know, like a doggy photo shoot or a gift certificate to a doggy spa or something. There's digital events that you can do that's obviously not face-to-face, but there are ways that you also can bring that from a digital into face-to-face. It's just having the stuff to do. I mean, you still can call your clients about it and tell them about it. And then there's thank past buyers from the previous year, past clients, but you can do buyers like photos in their new home. So there's all kinds of things that you can do. I just think it's thinking really creatively. I also think about variations. Like when you guys did the pie day, you can do like pizza pie day. You can do it on, I've heard of other teams that do it on pie, like 314.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of things. And then when I think about pizza pie, it's like, okay, well, what can you do with pizza pie? You could do the $5 frozen pizza from Aldi's. You could go and get go to a pizza, like the ice cream scoop, you could go to a local pizza place and buy a slice of pizza for who come during lunchtime. There's just variations of things, and you can adjust the scale with creative thinking.
Can you speak more to the digital events? I love the pet one.
Yes.
Any other ideas?
I do.
I love that. That's awesome.
I have a
costume contest.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Costume.
that's a great one.
The only thing that,
Best Christmas tree, you do it at Christmas, take a picture of your
Yeah.
Christmas
do you
tree.
think that it would hurt some people's feelings thinking that they had the best Christmas tree?
Then do a
person?
drawing.
Then, that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like a pet thing, like enter your thing and then
Oh.
it would go in a drawing.
Right.
Then you
Because
can
then-
like video
Right.
record you doing like a random number generator and
So,
choosing the numbers.
So there's all kinds of things. There's like donut day, pizza day, opposite day. I'm sure people can think of something to do with opposite day. There's hobby month, where if like a crafting month, post a picture of what you're doing craft-wise and be entered into a drawing for $100 at Joanne Fabric,
Right.
something like that. There's Super Bowl Sunday. You could go and buy a cup of soup for people. Like there's Candy Month. National Loyalty Day, you could do something visual where you're rewarding people who have referred business to you. There's Stress Awareness Month, and there's also like a Stress Awareness Day. You could host a meditation in the park or yoga in the park, something like that. There's lists. I've got like, if you want a copy of it, I've got a whole long list, but if you can look online for unlimited ideas.
that's awesome. I like that.
And just start, if you don't have a database, just start with the people on your phone.
That is your database.
Everyone on your phone. And if it's 15 people, then you start with 15 people, and then they'll tell their friends, and then that's how it grows. So don't be worried if your number is really small.
So focus on people we know, not necessarily haven't met into our,
Well, if you're posting it on Facebook, and then
other people will. Okay.
other people will see it. Like some of the actions that you do just to invite your own people will
Create that.
but then we'll go back to what Bryn's, like, have what your purpose is.
Okay.
So Bryn, if you do an online event like that,
Mm-hmm.
how do you capture their information?
So, to be clear, we're not exactly doing it yet, which is why this list is here, because
Okay.
we need to.
Okay.
But I mean, it depends how you structure this, but if it's, I don't know that we would necessarily yet, or it's not in my plans to necessarily, advertise events like this. It would be more for like our connected sphere, so we have
Oh, okay.
connection with them. They're posting things. It's just more about, events like this for us would be about engagement, probably.
Okay.
But we do, I mean, if you can do anything where you want people to enter into a drawing, it's click here to enter, and you can capture all
sure.
of their information right there.
Okay.
And that's what we did with the dumpster event.
Gotcha.
When you do the click here to get, what kind of programs do you use, or what kind of?
We've done many. You can do Google Form, you can do Eventbrite, you can do Facebook Direct, like they can just RSVP through Facebook, which you don't get all the information. And then we have done JotForm as well. JotForm's like Google Form.
Google Form's free, so.
Yeah.
I think when you, like if you post something, you put something out there to your sphere and you make it available to them and their friends, or even if it's public,
Yeah.
anyone who comes back and likes a photograph or something, or post something, you can go in and invite them to like your page. So it's a way to
Yeah.
build your sphere from there. You just need to be on top of it.
Yeah.
Just kind of paying
Once
attention
they
to what's
engage
happening.
with you,
Yeah, you can engage with them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that when you send out your next thing, then you're sending it out to, 20 people more than you did the last time.
There's also things like cross promotion that you can do where like if people share things from your page on another page, you get more exposure. I saw one that it just got my wheels turning where it's like inspirational role model month, and then there's like a best friend day where people could write a little, like you could say write 5 sentences about someone who inspires you, and they'll be entered into a drawing. If they win, they get, you'll get dinner together or something like that. And what they're going to do is they're going to write about someone and tag them. So it's going to share on their walls. And so this is ways that you get your exposure through other people, and you can do it with with businesses too. Like, let's say you decide that you recognize Six Smith here has, I don't want to make up numbers here, 2,000 followers. If you have a little event there, like let's just say you rent a room for an hour and you take a picture of your team in there, if you're able to get to post on their wall and says, thank you Cove for hosting a fabulous afternoon with the Serpa team, we love taking care of our clients, and you did a little post, well suddenly their sphere sees your team name. So it won't work with every business, but you can arrange it ahead of time.
Okay, so you could do something, so I was thinking about that pet one, and if you wanted to give away a spa day, you would ask like my groomer to sponsor that by giving the spa day.
You can,
Yeah.
or you could pay for it and give it, but
Sure,
either one, or
sure.
they could give a spa day, and in exchange you would highlight their business.
Sure.
Like you would take
Yes.
good photos and do a good write-up of it, and
Yeah.
you'd tell them that you'd put them in your, e-newsletter that you're gonna mail to your sphere, and, you're showing them the win and their.
Yeah, I like that.
I also thought about, like there's ways that you can take digital, like a doggy thing, and it would be free, and it's a way to get involved. You could hire a photographer that would take pet pictures, and you meet at a dog park. Everyone could go and take, have 2 hours with their dogs at the dog park, and there could be a photographer there.
Nice.
There's things that you could do that would be, minimal, a couple $100 investment.
Right.
You can
Or if
also-
anybody wants to hire my son, he's an amateur photographer, but you get it
Nice.
paid in that,
Yes.
so.
That's perfect,
Yeah.
because he's probably not as expensive as some
Right,
of the,
yeah.
and it gets
He'd
some-
work for
I was
$50 or
just thinking
$100.
Yeah,
I don't think
they-
my photographer would spend 2 hours for a couple $100, but maybe
I
I've
have been a wedding, I was a wedding
Yeah, you have to
photographer
get
for a very long
certified.
time.
Oh.
And
So we can hire you?
my well, no, I have not picked up the camera since I've been here, but one of the photographers that I worked with a lot, she's super expensive. She's like over $3,500 for even minimal cost for a wedding. And she's gonna do our event for $500, 2 hours.
Wow.
Pumpkin patch for $500.
Mm.
Because if you talk about what they get from it too, like the marketing that you'll do on their
It's
behalf.
exposure for them, they've got their own business as well they're trying to build, so it's.
Yep, and then there's ways that you could do, I haven't played around with this to get it figured out, but we have talked about saying something like, oh, you get 2 digital downloads for free, and then you can buy the rest of the digital downloads from the photographer, and that could reduce the cost that we pay. We could say up front $500, and for every little bit that people do digital downloads to get the rest of the photos. And she's a really talented photographer, so I'm guessing if we did something like this, people would probably.
Not be able to choose just 1 or 2 photos
Right.
and then buy and purchase
Yeah.
the additional ones, yes.
And you can, so a lot of times if you're partnered with a lender, they have a marketing department. And so if you do an event with them, you can ask their marketing department to come up with the flyer or the Facebook post or any of those pieces.
Some of them have videographers where they'll come and do a video of your event. I mean, it has to be cross-marketed, I mean, they have to be on the video, but they'll come.
But then it's usually, it's free and it's done by a professional marketing department because the corporations are big and have big departments
And
you
I'll,
can utilize.
yep, and I'll also say that I think the cool thing about marketing right now is Reel is becoming really big, like just snapshots are really good in marketing, like it doesn't all have to be polished. I mean, take good pictures, but it doesn't all have to be polished. Like it's okay for it to be snapshots that are,
Candid.
well lit. Yeah, yeah.
Do you guys have any more questions?
When we first moved here, we bought our first house, we bought it with Roger Fasington, and the agent there then invited us every year to their parking lot along the road there when they were right next to Gehrings, I think, kind of in there. And you'd pick up your Christmas wreath, and I looked forward to that every year, going to get my, because I knew I was going to have a wreath on my front door. And we'd go down there, when we ended up having kids, we'd take the kids down there and they'd have a bonfire at the back, and then you got to see your realtor and chat to people and pick up your wreath, and it was lovely. But we were off their list after like 10 years though, because we didn't move. We didn't move again, we didn't do the 5 to 7
You're out.
years. So we were off their list.
You passed up your 7 years.
Red light first.
But I thought that was a lovely thing. things. I always thought it would be lovely to do something like that here, because I don't know if they still do that, but I thought there's no reason why we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
You know, it's
that's a
like,
good
it
event.
is like
That's our holiday party, is we offer poinsettias, wreaths, and Christmas trees.
oh, so you do the wreath thing, yeah, which is
Mhm.
nice. I think that's
I
lovely.
think
You
that's
guys
great.
pay for them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So people just need to order them.
They RSVP for which one they want, one of the three. But yeah, most of the clients that like get a tree,
Yeah,
they're planning on that tree.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. That must get kind of pricey though.
Well, we have our sponsors as well. It is our most expensive event of the year, but we order them ahead of time from Gertens, and so we get them in bulk. We get wholesale pricing on them.
Okay.
Another thing that, we've talked about is when you, as newer agents, when you first have a closing, you could offer to have a housewarming party for them, catered food, invite the lender that closed it, split the cost with them, because the lender's gonna come there too to talk to their friends. Now you've met a whole nother group of people because you're now meeting their friends. Some people don't like the idea of you hosting a housewarming party, but other people love it.
That's very good, thank you.
Yeah, good ideas.
And I think for me, the biggest thing with our team has been just don't overcomplicate it and just start. Just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be right, and there's plenty of low-cost ideas, just get started.
And just
It won't
maybe
be perfect.
consistent.
No,
It'll be messy as an event.